The forest was quiet, too quiet. Mist curled between the ancient trees, wrapping the ground like a shroud. Only the drip of water from the leaves broke the silence. But under that silence hid something more, a sound, soft and weak. The sound of a hatchling trying to breathe. Arendra, the blue dragon, curled her long body protectively around her child. Her scales shimmered faintly, though they were dulled by exhaustion. The great horns on her head were scarred, and her wings trembled when she tried to stretch them. She was not just tired, she was broken. She looked down at the tiny creature pressed against her chest. The hatchling's scales were small and fragile, its wings too weak to lift. Its eyes, bright but clouded, blinked up at her. It tried to roar, but only a faint squeak came out. Arendra lowered her head, letting a single tear slide down her snout. She had broken the law. She had brought life into the world too soon. Dragons were bound to the ancient cycle. Hatchlings were only allowed when the stars aligned. But her egg cracked before its time, and the elders cast her out for it. To them, the hatchling was a mistake, a curse. To her, it was everything. Alone, in the shadow of the forest, Arendra whispered, "You will live. No matter what they say, no matter who comes, you will live." But even as she spoke, her heart was heavy. The hatchling's breath came in shallow gasps. Its tiny chest flickered with strange light, like something alive burned inside. Arendra did not understand it, and she feared it. The forest around them was dangerous. Strange machines sometimes drifted over head metal insects with glowing eyes. They did not belong to dragons. They belonged to outsiders, hunters, and hunters always came for weakness. That night, the mist thickened. Arendra heard something new, a crunch of boots against wet earth. She tensed, curling her tail protectively around the hatchling. Her golden eyes narrowed. A figure stepped out from between the trees. It was no dragon. It was a man. He wore a strange suit of black and silver, with glowing blue lights along his arms and chest. Tools hung from his belt, and a pack rested on his back. His face was shadowed, but his stance was not that of a warrior. He carried no gun, no blade. Only a small device flickering with light in his hand. Arendra bared her teeth. A low growl rolled from her throat, shaking the ground. "Leave," she hissed, her voice deep and broken. "Leave, or be burned." The man did not run. He did not even raise a weapon. Instead, he froze, staring up at her, then down at the hatchling. His eyes widened, not with fear, but with shock. He dropped the device and raised both hands. "I don't want to fight," he said softly. His voice carried honesty, not threat. "I'm not a soldier. I'm a mechanic. My ship, it crashed. I was following a signal." Arendra growled again, smoke curling from her nostrils. "A signal?" The man nodded. He pointed carefully at the hatchling. "Yes, that." Arendra froze. She glanced at her child. Its chest flickered again, the strange light glowing brighter in the mist. The man took a step forward. "That's no natural glow," he whispered. Someone tampered with it." The dragon's wings twitched in anger and fear. She wanted to crush this human for his words, but deep inside, part of her knew he was right. Her hatchling was different. It was born too soon, too weak, yet it carried something inside that was not of dragons. "Stay back," she warned. The man stopped. He lowered himself slowly to the ground, sitting cross-legged like he meant no harm. His armor whirred faintly, lights pulsing like a heartbeat. He spoke again, calm and steady. "I've seen things like this before. Machines fused with life. Experiments. Someone didn't want a dragon. They wanted a weapon." Rendra's breath caught. The hatchling whimpered, nuzzling against her scales. A storm of rage and terror rose inside her chest. If what this human said was true, then her child was not simply an outcast. It was hunted. The forest grew darker. Above them, faint shadows crossed the moonlight shapes in the sky. Drones. Searching, the man noticed them too. He looked up, jaw tightening. Then he looked at the hatchling again. "They're coming for it. For your child. If we don't move, they'll find you." Narendra snarled. "Why should I trust a human? The man met her gaze, steady and unflinching. Because I don't want to see a child die. Not yours. Not anyone's. For a long, heavy moment, dragon and human stared at each other. Predator and prey. Outcast and wanderer. And yet, in the silence, Erindra felt something strange. Something she had not felt since before her exile. A spark of hope. But hope was dangerous. The drones above circled lower, their glowing eyes sweeping through the trees. The hatchling whimpered louder, its chest glowing like a beacon. Erindra pressed her wing over it, trying to hide the light. Oh. But it leaked through. The man rose to his feet, pulling a tool from his belt. I can dampen the signal, he said quickly. Not forever, but long enough to move. You have to trust me. Erindra's heart pounded. Trust in a human. She remembered the fire of exile, the scorn of her kin, the cries of her hatchling. She had no allies. No safety. And yet, this man stood unarmed before her, not with fear, but with determination. The drones grew louder. Branches cracked as metal shapes descended. Erindra let out a roar that shook the ground. She shifted her wing, just enough to reveal the hatchling's glowing chest. The man rushed forward, hands working quickly, tools sparking as he bent over the child. The hatchling squealed, frightened but alive. The man worked faster, his brow damp with sweat. Almost there. Just a second. The drones broke through the treetops, lights blazing down, and then the hatchling's glow flickered once, twice, and then dimmed. The forest fell into darkness again. The drones paused, their scans failing. One by one, they drifted back upward, confused, searching elsewhere. Erindra stared, stunned. The human stood panting, his tools smoking, his hands shaking. He looked up at her and managed a small smile. There, he said, safe, for now. The dragon's golden eyes glimmered in the mist. For the first time, she did not see him as prey. For the first time, she saw him as something else. Maybe an ally. The night grew still again, but the silence was heavier now. The drones were gone, their glowing eyes lost among the clouds, but their presence lingered like a shadow. Erindra kept her wings wrapped tightly around the hatchling. Shielding it from the cold air and from the man standing before her, the human wiped his hands on his suit, leaving streaks of dark grease across the silver plates. His breathing was heavy, his face pale, but there was a fire in his eyes. He had done something no dragon would ever believe possible. He had silenced the hatchling's strange glowdot, but Erindra did not lower her guard. She narrowed her eyes, voice low and rumbling. What are you, human? Soldier? Hunter? Thief? The man shook his head. None of those. His voice was quiet, steady, like he was used to speaking to broken machines in the dark. My name is Kale. I'm just a mechanic. Erindra's tail lashed against the ground. Mechanic. You touch my child like a smith touches scrap metal, and you call yourself a mechanic? Kale looked down at his grease-stained hands. His fingers trembled from the work, the sparks, the fear, but he didn't flinch. Yes. Ships, engines, circuits, reactors, I fix what's broken. That's all I've ever done. The dragon's growl deepened. Then why fix this? She lowered her head, teeth glinting in the moonlight. Why not let us die like the others wish? Kale met her gaze. His eyes did not hold the cold calculation of hunters, nor the blind reverence of dragon worshippers from old tales. His eyes held something rarer regret, because, he said softly, I couldn't save them before. Erindra blinked. Them. Kale hesitated, his jaw tightening. Then he sat down slowly on the damp earth, crossing his legs again. He looked up at her as if to show he wasn't going to run, wasn't going to draw a weapon. I worked on colony ships. Big ones. Families, children, whole towns, floating between stars. One day, raiders hit us. They tore through the hull. Systems failed. I was there, patching leaks, rerouting power, but it wasn't enough. Hundreds died. His voice cracked, just for a moment. He looked at his hands again, at the grease that never seemed to wash away. I wasn't a soldier. I wasn't a hero. I was just a mechanic. And I failed them. The forest wind rustled through the trees, carrying his words like a confession. Erindra felt her anger falter. She had expected lies, excuses, but instead she saw truth raw and heavy. You are haunted, right? She murmured. Kale nodded once. Yes, and I won't fail again. Not if I can help it. The hatchling stirred against her scales, making a faint sound like a sigh. Its chest flickered weakly, but the glow no longer blazed like a beacon. Erindra lowered her head closer to Kale. The human didn't flinch, though her hot breath rolled over him. You say my child was? Tampered with, she said. Her voice was softer now, but edged with fear. Explain. Kale adjusted the small device on his wrist, pulling up a faint hologram. It glowed blue, reflecting off his weary face. Strange lines of data appeared, pulsing in rhythm with the hatchling's faint light. This isn't natural, he explained. Inside your hatchling is something in energy core, woven into the flesh. It's old tech, but powerful. I've only seen pieces of it before in military projects. This one is half machine, half dragon. Erindra's claws dug into the soil. You mean my child is not real? Kale looked up quickly, shaking his head. No, it's real. It's alive. But someone changed it. Someone wanted this hatchling to exist, to be born early. To carry this inside, he tapped the glowing projection. Your exile wasn't just fate. It was design. The dragon's chest tightened. She remembered the way the egg cracked too soon, the way the elders cursed her, the way they turned their backs. All this time, she thought she had failed her kind. But if what Kale said was true, then she had been used. A sound echoed through the forest, distant but sharp. A mechanical whine. Kale's head snapped toward the trees. His hand hovered near his belt, where a spanner hung like a weapon. They're still searching, he muttered. Drones don't give up easy, Erindra hissed. Then leave. Run, mechanic. You saved my child once, but you cannot fight the sky. Kale looked at her, steady as before. I didn't run when I heard the signal. I won't run now. If they want your child, they'll have to go through me. The dragon stared at him, astonished. A human, small and fragile, daring to stand between her hatchling and the sky. She almost laughed, but no sound came. Instead, she saw only the truth. This mechanic, broken and haunted, was willing to burn for a child that wasn't his. But why? Erindra pulled her wings tighter, whispering low, almost to herself. You are either a fool, Kale, or something more dangerous. Kale didn't answer. He knelt, checking his tools, hands moving quickly. Sparks flickered as he rewired parts of his device. We don't have much time. If I can boost the dampener, I might block the signal completely. But I'll need cover. The dragon's eyes narrowed. Cover. He looked up, a flicker of determination in his tired eyes. Fire. Lots of fire. Erindra's lips curled into something close to a smile. For the first time since exile, her chest felt lighter. That I can provide. The hatchling stirred again, weak but alive, pressing its small head against her chest. Erindra bent her neck and whispered, Rest, little one. The world will not take you tonight. Above, the distant hum of drones grew louder. Kale finished his adjustments, snapping the device shut. He stood, grease staining, his hands darker than ever. Erindra spread her wings, the forest trembling under their span. Her eyes burned with firelight. The human and the dragon, two outcasts. Bound by chance, prepared to face the storm together. And as the first drone lights pierced the mist, the night erupted with flame. The night burned. Flames roared as Erindra's breath lit the treetops. The forest glowing red and gold. Drones screeched as fire melted their shells, crashing into the ground with sparks and smoke. Kale crouched low, his device humming in his hands, sweat dripping down his face as he worked. One drone slipped past the fire, swooping low with a sharp metallic cry. Its scanner beam flashed across the hatchling. Erindra lunged. jaws snapping shut, crushing it into silence. Kale shouted over the chaos. Almost there, just hold them off. The dragon's wings beat against the night, sending gusts of smoke through the trees. She let out a roar so powerful the forest shook. The remaining drones faltered, retreating into the mist. For now, the danger had passed. Kale dropped to his knees, the device sparking faintly. It's done. The dampener's stable. They won't find the hatchling again. Not tonight. Arendra lowered her head, smoke curling from her nostrils. Her chest heaved with exhaustion, but her golden eyes blazed. You fight like no human I have ever known. Not with blades, not with guns, but with wires and sparks. Kale gave a tired smile, wiping grease from his brow. Ships, drones, engine sits all the same. Machines break. Or I break them harder. For a moment, silence fell between them, broken only by the soft whimper of the hatchling. Its faint light flickered again, though weaker now, like an ember instead of a beacon. Ariandra curled her tail around it, protective and fearful. Kale frowned. The glow. It's fading too fast. It's not just energy. Something's wrong inside. Arendra stiffened. Wrong? Kale hesitated. Then he picked up his scanner again, the hologram flickering to life. Strange lines of data twisted across the projection, pulsing with the hatchling's faint heartbeat. Kale's brow furrowed. This isn't just an implant, he muttered. It's a whole system. Something built into its body, piece by piece. Someone wanted this hatchling alive, but not free. The words struck Arendra like claws to the heart. She remembered the whispers of the elders, their accusing voices. A cursed child. A broken one. Cast her out before she dooms us all. Her exile had not been punishment alone. It had been a cover. Her child was designed. The dragon's voice trembled with fury. Who did this? Kale shook his head. I don't know, but I think we can find out. He pointed deeper into the forest where the mist hung heavier, glowing faintly in the moonlight. When I first tracked the signal, it led me here to the ruins. Old structures hidden under the vines. If there are answers, they're there. Arendra narrowed her eyes. She had lived in these woods since exile, but she had never dared to go deeper. The forest had a name among her kind, the Forest of Whispers, a place where even dragons feared to tread. You speak of death, she growled. No dragon enters that place. Kale met her gaze, his expression grim but steady. Then maybe it's not meant for dragons. Maybe it's meant for me, hatchling whimpered, pressing against Arendra's scales. She bent her neck low, listening to its weak breath. Every sound tore at her heart. She could not let fear chain her now. Very well, she whispered. We go. The deeper they traveled, the stranger the forest became. The trees grew taller, their trunks twisted and gnarled, as if they had been shaped by unseen hands. The mist thickened until it clung to their scales and skin. Sometimes, faint voices seemed to whisper among the branches echoes of words no tongue could understand. Arendra's scales bristled. She kept her wings tucked close, the hatchling safe beneath them. Kale walked carefully beside her, his hand never leaving the device on his wrist. Suddenly, the ground shifted. What looked like roots and soil gave way beneath Kale's boots, revealing cold metal. He knelt, brushing aside moss to uncover a buried surface. It gleamed faintly under the moonlight old alloy, scarred with time. This isn't forest, he whispered. This is a shell. Something's buried here. Adindra lowered her head, sniffing the air. The scent was strange old fire, old death. She felt her chest tighten. Kale found a hatch half hidden under vines, its edges glowing faintly. With a grunt, he forced it open. A stale breath of air escaped, carrying the scent of rust and chemicals. A staircase led down into darkness. Arendra recoiled, growling deep in her chest. That is not a place for living things. Kale's jaw tightened. It's where the answers are. For a moment, neither moved. Then the hatchling whimpered again, its tiny body trembling. Its chest flickered with light, weaker than before. Arendra closed her eyes. The choice was made. She stepped forward, lowering her head toward the stairwell. I will not let my child enter alone. If there are answers, I will see them. Kale nodded, pulling a glow rod from his belt. Its pale blue light pierced the darkness. Stay close, and if anything happens, you burn it. Arendra almost smiled. I was planning to. The stairwell led into a vast chamber buried beneath the earth. The walls were covered in vines, but behind them, cold metal shone. Faded symbols glowed faintly, alien markings etched into the steel. Strange machines sat silent, their surfaces cracked with age, but as Kale moved deeper, a hum filled the air. The machines stirred, lights flickering one by one. Holograms burst to life, casting ghostly figures across the room. Arendra reared back, hissing, but Kale stepped forward. Transfixed, the hologram showed dragons chained, their wings bound with metal. Scientists circled them, inserting devices, altering eggs, recording data. Arendra's heart thundered. Her claws scraped the floor, sparks flying. She wanted to tear the images apart, but she knew they were not real. They were memories. One final hologram flickered to life. It showed a man in a lab coat, his face pale and tired. His voice echoed through the chamber. Project Starbound. Phase 1 complete. The weapon has hatched. The experiment lives. The signal is stable. The image froze. Kale's face drained of color. He turned slowly toward Arendra. They made your child. The dragon's roar shook the chamber, fire bursting from her jaws. The holograms shattered into static. The hatchling whimpered in fear, its tiny body trembling. Arendra's eyes burned with rage. She looked down at Kale, her voice trembling. Then tell me, mechanic, what do I do now? Kale clenched his fists, grease and blood smearing together on his palms. His voice was low, but steady. First he said, we survive. The chamber still echoed with the scientist's words. Project Starbound. The weapon has hatched. Arendra's roar faded into silence, her chest heaving. The hatchling whimpered, pressing itself tighter against her scales. Kale stood frozen, his glow rod trembling in his hand. The truth hung between them like a curse. The hatchling was no accident. It was a design. Arendra's golden eyes glowed in the dim light. They dared, she whispered, her voice shaking with fury. They dared twist dragon blood with machine. Her claws scraped deep scars into the metal floor. They will pay. Kale swallowed hard. He wanted to speak, but no words seemed enough. He felt the weight of her rage, her grief, and beneath it, his own anger. Humanity had done this. His kind, but before he could answer, the ground rumbled. Dust fell from the ceiling. A deep vibration shook the chamber. Arendra's head snapped upward. Ships, she growled. Kale's eyes widened. He knew that sound, the low thunder of engines breaking through atmosphere. He bolted to the stairwell, climbing fast. When he reached the surface, the night sky confirmed his fear. Above the forest, 3 massive ships hovered, their hulls black and gleaming with sharp lights. Their engines roared, sweeping clouds aside. Drones poured from their bays like swarms of metal locusts, spreading out across the trees. Kale's chest tightened. They found us. Arendra emerged from the stairwell, wings half spread, fire glowing in her throat. The hatchling clung to her scales, its tiny eyes glowing faintly. The largest ship above released a booming voice. Amplified through the sky, outcast dragon, you shelter stolen property. Surrender the hatchling, and your death will be swift. Resist, and you will be erased. Arendra's roar shook the heavens. It is not your property. It is my child. Flames shot from her mouth, lighting the treetops. The ships did not flinch. Drones descended in waves, their scanner lights cutting through the mist. Kale's mind raced. We can't fight all of them. Not here. He turned to her, eyes sharp. The dampener won't hold if they're this close. We need to move, Arendra growled, torn between fury and fear. Move where? They surround us. Kale scanned the forest. His gaze fell on the ridges far to the east, jagged shadows rising above the mist. There, the mountains. If we get inside the caves, they'll lose their flight advantage. Arendra's wings trembled, her muscles weary from exile and battle. I cannot carry us all that far. Kale met her gaze. His voice was steady even though his hands shook. Then we make them chase us. I'll draw their eyes. You protect the hatchling. Right. The dragon's eyes widened. You would stand against the sky? Alone. Kale's jaw tightened. I failed once before. I won't again. For a moment they locked eyes, human and dragon, two broken souls. Then Arandra nodded, fire flashing in her throat. Very well. But if you fall human, I will burn the heavens themselves. The drones swept low, lasers cutting through the trees. Kale sprinted through the undergrowth, sparks flying from the device strapped to his wrist. He shouted, his voice echoing, "Over here!" The machines turned, chasing his signal. Lights flared as beams tore into the ground where he had stood a moment before. He ducked, rolled, and threw a small charge into the mist. The explosion rattled the forest, smoke curling upward. Above, Arandra burst from the treetops, wings glowing with reflected fire. She unleashed a torrent of flame, slicing through the first wave of drones. Their bodies fell like burning ash. The hatchling clung tight against her scales, its faint glow trembling. But the ships did not retreat. Their hulls opened wider, releasing larger drones, each the size of a horse. Their armor black as night. Kale cursed under his breath. Heavies. Just my luck. He dove behind a fallen log, frantically rewiring his dampener into something rougher, riskier. Sparks bit his fingers. Grease smeared his palms. Come on, come on. The heavy drones locked onto him, lasers priming. Arandra saw them. With a roar that cracked the sky, she dove, slamming into the clearing. Her claws ripped through metal, her fire turned steel into slag. But the drones were strong, resistant to heat. One fired, blasting her wing. She cried out, tumbling into the trees. Kale ran to her side, dragging her up with all the strength in his body. Stay with me. You're not done yet. Blood dripped from her wing, smoke rising from the wound. Still, she stood tall, shielding the hatchling with her body. The ships above grew brighter. Their weapons charged, energy gathering in their cannons. The forest glowed with deadly light. Kale looked up, despair clawing at him. They're going to burn the whole forest. Then his device beeped finished. His eyes widened. He looked at Arandra. I can overload the hatchling's core, he said quickly. Turn its signal into a pulse. It'll fry every drone within miles, Arandra snarled. Overload. That could kill it. Kale's heart pounded. Or save it. If we do nothing, we all die. The hatchling whimpered, glowing brighter as if it sensed the choice. Its tiny chest flickered with sparks of strange light. Above, the first cannon fired. A beam slicing down through the clouds. Ariandra's eyes locked with Kale's. In that instant, she saw his fear, his pain, but also his promise, and she had to decide. Would she risk her child's life, or watch the forest burn? The forest shook with the force of the cannon strike. Trees split apart, flames erupted, and the ground cracked beneath the blast. Arandra shielded the hatchling with her wings, her scales glowing red from the heat. Kale threw himself flat, his device clutched tight in his hands. Above, the ships circled like vultures, their weapons charging again. Drones poured down through the firelit sky, scanners sweeping across the ground. Kale's voice broke through the chaos. We have one chance. He lifted the device, its lights flickering wildly. If I overload the hatchling's core, the pulse will shut them all down. But it might. His words faltered. He didn't need to finish. Arandra knew the risk. Her eyes burned like molten gold. She held her hatchling close, hearing its weak breaths, its tiny heart stuttering against her chest. The glow inside its body pulsed faster now, as though it felt the choice closing in. No, she growled, her voice deep and trembling. I will not sacrifice my child to your machines. Kale stood, fire reflecting in his eyes. then we all die here. You, me, the hatchling, everything the forest holds? Is that what you want? The dragon roared, flame blasting into the night. Drones shattered in midair, raining metal and sparks. But for every one that fell, 3 more descended. Kale's jaw clenched. His hands moved without pause, tearing open the dampener, ripping wires free, splicing them together. Grease smeared across his face as he worked faster, harder. Listen to me, he shouted. I can control the pulse. I can stop it before it burns the hatchling out. But you have to trust me. Trust. That word again. Arendra's chest ached with it. She had trusted once before in her kin. They had cast her out. She had trusted the cycle of stars. It had betrayed her. And now, a human, with grease on his hands and fire in his eyes, demanded her trust again. The hatchling whimpered. Its glow brightened, as if begging. Arandra's wings trembled. She lowered her head until her golden eyes met Kale's. If you fail, Kale's voice was iron. Then I die with it. The dragon stared for 1 heartbeat longer. Then she moved her wing aside, revealing the hatchling's chest. The faint light pulsing faster and faster. Kale dropped to his knees beside it, hands flying across wires and circuits. Sparks leaped, smoke hissed. Hold steady, little one. Just hold steady. Arandra loomed over them, her fire roaring against the sky. Drones swarmed, their weapons firing in endless streams of light. Her body shook with pain, scales cracking, wings torn, but she did not fall. She fought like a storm. Kale worked faster, every second an eternity. The device hummed, its lights blazing. The hatchling's glow flared in sync, its chest like a star about to burst. Then the pulse erupted. A wave of blue light swept out from the hatchling, slamming into the drones. Circuits fried, engines sputtered. One by one, the machines dropped from the air, crashing into the burning forest. The ships above flickered, their lights dimming, their cannons stuttering. Kale gritted his teeth, holding the device steady. Come on, come on. Stay alive, little one. The hatchling cried out, its glow blazing brighter than ever. Its tiny body arched in pain. Arandra's roar shook the heavens. Stop. You're killing it. Kale shouted back, voice raw. Not yet. Just 1 more second. The pulse surged again, blasting through the sky. The largest ship above shuddered, engines exploding in fire. It lurched sideways, crashing into the distant ridges with a thunder that shook the world. Kale slammed his hand down on the device, cutting the circuit. The hum died. The glow in the hatchling's chest flickered, and then dimmed to a faint ember. For a terrible moment, silence fell. Arandra bent her head, pressing her snout against the hatchling. It was still. To still, no, she whispered. Her voice cracked, breaking the night more than any roar. No, no, no. Kale collapsed beside them, chest heaving, hands trembling. His face was pale, his eyes wide with fear. Then a faint sound. A breath, weak but real. The hatchling stirred, its eyes fluttering open. Arandra let out a sob that shook her body. She curled around her child, cradling it with wings of fire-scorched scales. Kale sank to the ground, tears mixing with grease on his face. It worked, he whispered. By the stars, it worked. But their relief was short. Above, the 2 surviving ships adjusted course, pulling higher into the clouds. Their light shifted from red to a cold, deadly white. Kale's stomach sank. They're not retreating, he muttered. They're recalibrating. Arandra lifted her head, her body trembling but unbroken. What does that mean? Kale's voice was grim. It means next time. They'll come with everything they have. And as if to prove his words, the sky split open. From the belly of the nearest ship, something larger than any drone descended a massive war machine. Its body bristling with cannons, its head shaped like a steel beast. Its eyes glowed crimson as it roared, shaking the trees. Arandra's claws dug into the earth. Her hatchling whimpered against her chest. Kale rose slowly to his feet, his broken device hanging useless in his hands. The mechanic and the dragon stood side by side, staring at the nightmare that descended upon them. The battle was far from over. The war machine's roar still echoed in the forest as Kale dragged Rendra and the hatchling deeper into the mist. The giant beast had landed near the wreckage of the fallen drones, its massive legs sinking into the ground like tree trunks of steel. Cannons swiveled, scanning for targets, while the ships above circled like carrion birds. Every step was pain. Arendra's wing bled, smoke rising from the burns in her scales. The hatchling clung to her, weak but breathing. Kale's body shook with exhaustion, his shirt soaked with sweat and grease. They stumbled into a narrow ravine where thick stone walls swallowed sound. For now the machine's sensors passed overhead without finding them. Kale collapsed against the rock, gasping for air. "We can't fight that thing head-on. Not like this." Rendra's chest rose and fell with fury. "Then what do you suggest, human? Run forever? Hide in shadows while they hunt my child?" Kale wiped blood from his brow. His hands trembled, but his voice was steady. "I've fixed engines bigger than that monster. Built systems that held colonies together when everything else failed. Machines break. They all break." The dragon's golden eyes narrowed. "You think you can tear down a war beast with tools?" Kale met her gaze, his jaw tight. "I think I can keep my promise." Arendra tilted her head, wary. "Promise?" Kale swallowed hard. His voice dropped low. "That I'll protect the hatchling, even if it costs me everything." The hatchling stirred, glowing faintly against its mother's scales. Arendra's throat rumbled with conflicted sound. Not quite a growl, not quite a sigh. For a long moment they sat in silence, the forest burning faintly above them. Then Arendra spoke, her voice quieter than Kale had ever heard. "My kind cast me out the moment I bore life. They said it was forbidden. Too soon. Against the cycle of stars. They did not care that I bled, that I wept. They saw only sin. Her claws traced grooves into the stone floor. I fled into shadow, alone, until the hatchling came. It was small, weak, but alive. And I swore I would never let them take it from me. Never." Her voice cracked. The fire in her chest dimmed for the first time. Kale listened, his heart twisting. He had seen loss before, families broken by war, children starving in colonies abandoned by the High Council. He knew the sound of someone carrying too much grief. "I was cast out too," he admitted. His hands clenched in his lap. "Not by blood, but by duty. I was a ship mechanic for the fleet. They ordered me to fix weapons I knew were built to burn whole worlds. When I refused," he laughed bitterly, without humor. "They stripped my rank, left me on a mining moon with nothing but scrap. Said I was a traitor. Said I had no place among them." Arendra's golden eyes softened just slightly. "So, we are both outcasts." Kale nodded, staring at the flickering glow of the hatchling. "Maybe that's why I can't walk away. I see myself in it. Small, weak, but still fighting to live." The dragon lowered her head, closer to his. Her voice was low, trembling. "If you break this promise, human, I will tear your world apart." Kale managed a tired smile. "Fair enough." The ground shook again, a distant rumble that grew louder. The war machine was moving. Its searchlights swept across the forest, carving through smoke and mist. Kale stood, its exhaustion burning away beneath adrenaline. He grabbed his tool belt, checking wires, charges, and scraps of broken drones he had scavenged. His mind raced, sketching plans against time. "We can't match its firepower," he muttered. "But if I can get close enough to its core, maybe I can overload it. The same way we did with the hatchling's pulse. Only this time, I'll be the fuse." Rendra growled, stepping forward. "You would throw your life away?" Kale looked up at her, eyes sharp. "If it keeps the hatchling breathing, yeah. I would." The dragon's wings trembled, torn and bleeding. She bared her teeth, fire licking at her throat. "No, you are mine now too, mechanic. If you die, I will not forgive you." Kale blinked at her words. For a moment, he almost laughed. Then he nodded, serious again. "Then I'll just have to make it back alive." The sound of crushing trees tore through the night. The war machine stepped into the ravine's mouth, its red eyes glowing like suns. It scanned, beams of light cutting across the stone. Kale ducked into the shadows, pulling Arendra and the hatchling deeper into the dark. His heart pounded so loud he feared the machine would hear it. The giant's cannons primed, glowing hot. Its voice boomed, mechanical and merciless, returned the specimen. "Or burn," Arendra hissed, smoke curling from her nostrils. The hatchling whimper Ed Da Ko leaned close to her, whispering fast. "I can reach its underbelly. That's where its cooling system runs. If I overload it, the whole thing goes down." Arendra's tail lashed against the rock. "And if you fail?" Kale's eyes gleamed in the firelight. "Then you burn the sky for me." The war machine's searchlight swept closer. Illuminating their hiding place, Kale tightened his grip on his tools. Crouched low, ready to run into the storm. Arendra spread her wings. Shielding her hatchling, fire building in her chest, the machine's cannons locked onto them with a shriek of metal, and then the ravine walls shook violently as something massive crashed. Down from above, landing between predator and prey. Stone split, smoke billowed, through the dust. A new shadow rose, neither drone nor ship, but something ancient. With scales that shimmered silver in the firelight, Arendra's eyes went wide. Her voice was barely a whisper. "One of my kin." The dust cleared slowly, revealing the massive form that had landed in the ravine. Its wings stretched wide, silver scales shining like mirrors in the firelight. The great beast's eyes glowed cold and sharp, reflecting both Arendra and Kale in their golden depths. Arendra's heart froze. She knew that shape, that presence. Her voice trembled. "Velthor." The silver dragon's voice rolled like thunder across the ravine. "Arendra, the outcast who defied the cycle, you have not learned your lesson." Arendra's claws dug into the stone. "You dare stand with them? With the humans who twisted blood into machines?" Velthar's wings folded close, his expression unreadable. "I stand with balance. You broke it when you bore life too soon. That hatchling." His gaze shifted to the tiny glow against Arendra's chest. "Is an abomination. It must not live." The hatchling whimpered, its glow flickering weakly. Arendra growled low, fire boiling in her throat. "Over my corpse?" Kale stepped forward, fists clenched, even though he was nothing compared to these giants. "You think you can just decide who lives and dies? That hatchling is more alive than your machines or your rules." Belthar's gaze fell upon him, cold and heavy. "And you are the human who meddles in blood, not his own. Do you even know what that hatchling carries within? A core not of dragon kind, but of forged light. It will not stop growing. One day, it will consume worlds." Kale's stomach twisted. He looked at the hatchling, then at Arendra. He wanted to deny it, but he remembered the pulse. The way its tiny chest had flared with power enough to cripple warships. Arendra's voice was sharp, desperate. "It is still my child. Flesh of my flesh. Flame of my flame. You will not touch it." Velthar's wings rustled like steel plates grinding. "Then you leave me no choice." The war machine behind him stirred, its crimson eyes glowing brighter. To Kale's horror, the silver dragon raised one claw and touched the machine's head. Circuits lit, alive with dragon fire energy. Kale gasped. "He's linked to it." The war machine rose higher, its cannons locking onto Arendra. Now it moved with fluid precision, as though Velthar's will controlled every step. Arendra backed into the stone wall, shielding her hatchling with her wings. Her eyes never left her kin. Why Velthor? Why side with them? The silver dragon's gaze burned with cold fire. Because dragons who defy the cycle are dangerous, and humans are worse. Together, you are a threat to all the stars. Kale's hand shook with rage. "No, the only threat here is your fear. You'd rather kill a child than admit your cycle is broken." Velthar's lips curled, revealing rows of silver teeth. "Then die with her." The war machine roared, cannons blazing. Beams of fire shot through the ravine, blasting stone apart. Erindra leapt aside, covering her hatchling, her flames clashing with the machine's weapons. Sparks flew as claw met steel. Kale dove behind a shattered boulder, his mind racing. He had no charges left, no working devices, only broken scraps and raw nerve. "Think, Kale, think," he muttered, fumbling with the fried dampener parts. His hands bled as he wired them together. "If he's linked to the machine, then maybe I can break the link." Above, Erindra fought with all her strength, her body bleeding, her wings torn. She bit deep into the machine's armor, tearing cables, but it did not fall. With Velthar's will inside it, the beast was relentless. The hatchling cried out, glowing brighter as if feeling its mother's pain. Its light pulsed, shaking the air. Velthar's voice boomed, "See, already it grows unstable. Already it hungers." Erindra snarled, fire bursting from her throat. "No, it is life, more pure than you." The machine slammed her into the stone. She cried out, the sound tearing through Kale's chest like a blade. Kale's device sparked in his hands. He gritted his teeth, ignoring the pain. Almost. The hatchling screamed again, and its glow exploded outward. A shockwave rattled the ravine, knocking both dragons back. The war machine staggered, its cannons sputtering. For a brief second, Kale saw Itan exposed conduit glowing beneath its chest plate. His chance, Erindra. He shouted, "Hold it still." The dragon, battered and bleeding, heard him. Her eyes flared with fire and fury. With a roar, she lunged, wrapping her claws around the machine's arms, locking it in place. Its cannons blasted against her scales, but she held fast. Kale ran. Through fire, through smoke, through the thunder of battle, he sprinted across the shattered ground. He dove beneath the machine's legs, his hands slamming the device against the glowing conduit. Sparks exploded. Circuits screamed. Velthar roared, his silver eyes flashing. The machine convulsed, caught between his will and Kale's sabotage. The ravine filled with chaos flame, light and thunder. Kale screamed as power surged through his body, burning his hands, shaking his bones. The machine buckled, its armor cracking, and then the hatchling's glow burst free. A beam of light shooting into the sky. It pierced the clouds, brighter than any star. The ships above turned, alarms flashing across their hulls. Velthar froze, his gaze locked on the hatchling. Erindra's voice rang out, defiant even in her pain. "Look, brother. You call it abomination, but it is stronger than us all." The hatchling's light grew so bright, the ravine glowed like day. Kale's device shattered in his hands. The war machine collapsed, smoke pouring from its chest, but Velthor did not fall. His silver wings spread wide, his eyes burning with rage. "You have doomed us all," he thundered. "If the hatchling lives, the stars will burn." And with a roar, he lunged not at Erindra this time, but at Kale. Velthor's silver body lunged like lightning, claws outstretched, eyes burning with rage. Kale barely had time to react. He stumbled back, the ruined device slipping from his burned hands. The silver dragon's strike would have torn him apart, but Erindra moved. Her wounded body crashed in two, knocking him sideways. Sparks flew as his claws gouged the stone wall. Erindra roared, fire spilling from her throat, but her strength faltered. She could not hold him for long. "Run, Kale." She shouted. Kale didn't move. His legs trembled, but his eyes locked on her. "I'm not leaving you." Velthar shook her off, his silver wings flaring. "Foolish human. You think you are more than dust in the stars?" His tail lashed, sending Kale sprawling above. The two surviving ships adjusted course, cannons priming again. The hatchling's earlier flare had marked their location. More drones poured from their bays, swarming like steel locusts. Kale forced himself up, chest heaving. He had nothing left. No charges, no dampener, no tools. Only burned hands, a broken body, and one final choice. He looked at the hatchling. It glowed faintly, trembling, caught between fear and fire. Kale's voice broke as he whispered, "You're the key, aren't you? Not a weapon. Not a curse. A choice. The hatchling's eyes met his, small but shining. Its glow pulsed, syncing with his heartbeat. Erindra cried out as Velthar's claws raked across her side. Blood streamed down her scales. Still, she stood, shielding her child. "Kale," she roared. "Do something." Kale's mind raced. His tools were gone. His body was weak. But one thought cut through the chaos like a blade. Machines break, but life adapts. He staggered to the hatchling, pressing his scorched hands against its glowing chest. The warmth seared his skin, but he didn't let go. "Listen to me," he whispered. "You're not a mistake. You're not their weapon. You're alive. And if you want to, live now's the time to show it." The hatchling whimpered, then screamed. Its glow burst outward, brighter than before. Energy flooded the ravine, shaking the very ground. Kale felt it surge through him, a living current of fire and light. For a moment, he and the hatchling were one, his will, its power. Erindra's eyes widened. Kale Velthar recoiled, his silver wings shielding his face. "No, you cannot control it." But Kale's voice rang out, steady, strong. "I'm not controlling it. I'm guiding it." The hatchling's glow flared into wings of light, wrapping around Kale's body. His burned hands stopped shaking. His broken strength returned. He stood tall, no longer just a mechanic, but something more, a bridge between flesh and fire, machine and life. The drone swarmed, but beams of light shot from the hatchling, tearing them apart like paper. The ships above fired, but the energy dissolved, their blasts midair. Erindra stared in awe. "Starfire," she whispered. Kale turned, his voice carrying with the hatchling's power. "We end this together," mother and child roared as one. Erendra's flames fused with the hatchling's light, creating a torrent of fire brighter than the sun. It struck Velthar full in the chest, knocking him back. His silver scales cracked, smoke rising as he roared in fury. "You do not understand," Velthar screamed, his voice desperate now. "The hatchling will outgrow you all. It will devour stars. This is the way of forged light." Kale's eyes blazed with the hatchling's glow. "No, that's your fear talking, and I won't let fear decide the future." With a final cry, Kale and the hatchling unleashed a pulse of pure energy. It tore through the sky, ripping apart the drone swarms. Shattering the ships above into flaming wreckage, Velthar roared as the blast engulfed him. His silver body flung into the night. He vanished into the clouds, his voice fading with rage. "This is not the end. The cycle will claim you all." Silence followed. The sky burned with falling wreckage, the forest lit with fire and starlight. Erindra collapsed, trembling but alive. The hatchling's glow dimmed, settling into a soft, steady pulse. Kale fell to his knees, his strength spent, but he smiled through blood and tears. "We did it," he whispered. Erindra lowered her head to him, her golden eyes filled with something he had never seen before. Not just respect, not just gratitude, but kinship. "You are no longer just human, Kale. You are bound to us. Blood, fire, and star." The hatchling nuzzled against his chest, its tiny warmth steady. Kale looked at them both, mother and child. Dragon inflamed for the first time since he was cast out, he felt he had a place. But far above, beyond the burning wreckage, the stars flickered. Somewhere in the void, Velthar still lived, and his warning lingered in Kale's mind. Will the hatchling's light save the stars, or one day burn them all? Kale clenched his fist, determination burning in his eyes. Then we'll shape its future together. The night quieted. The fire faded. And in the heart of the ravine, an outcast dragon, a human mechanic, and a hatchling of light began a new story. One not of fear, but of hope. Starfire was reborn.